Welcome to the podcast Selling Real Estate with Kelly Cook, where we will discuss the latest and most relevant business strategies to help you do one thing extremely well: sell more homes. We'll discuss everything from business planning to lead generation and conversion to past client customer service and everything in between. Join us for authentic conversations and nuts and bolts takeaways you can implement into your business today. And now, Selling Real Estate with Kelly Cook.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back. It is another episode of Selling Real Estate with Kelly Cook. As always, we have Kelly Cook. How are you doing today, Kelly?
I'm doing great, Elizabeth. How are you today? I'm excited about
wonderful.
Today's guest.
Yeah, it's my birthday today, so I'm doing great. Yes.
Okay, good.
Perfect. And today we've got Reed Goossens with us today. So he's joining us. He is a very, very well-established person in real estate. He came here from Australia 7 years ago, 2012, with no connections, really, no established network here in America. Very little means, really, when he came here. So he took, $38,000, bought some real estate, and just been on the up and up ever since. So today we just kind of want to hear his story, what he has to say about investing, his tips, best strategies. He's a best-selling author as well. He's got his own podcast. We really, really are excited to have him here and share his story with us today. So let's get into it.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm excited about it too. As you know, and our viewers know that I'm a big, I'm very passionate, big supporter and doer as well. Owning several, actually 16 right now, right? Personal rental houses, right? So, and soon to be 50, right? So very, very excited about this. And guys, if you're thinking way bigger than even I just mentioned, Reed has that too in terms of what he manages, in terms of properties, rental houses too as well. So without further ado, let's get in and pick the wisdom off the tree that is Reed here.
G'day guys. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. Our pleasure. So if you could, Elizabeth, just jump in when you want to here, but if you could just kind of take us back here, Reed. I know Elizabeth touched on it a little bit, but your story and how you got to the U.S. and why, and how that all got kicked off.
Yeah, look, the big why for me started way back. I spent a couple of years after leaving university. My background's in structural engineering. I lived in Europe for a period of time. Lived in London, worked on the 2012 Olympic Games. I was in the south of France. I've got many stories I was a deckhand. If you've ever seen the show Below Deck on Bravo, I was exactly one of those guys. Yep. But during that time, I met my now wife, Erica, backpacking around Spain. And so fast forward a couple of years, I was back in Australia, 2009, 2010. I picked up the book Rich Dad Poor Dad. I had an incredible couple of years living abroad. Fell in love with this American girl, and I was like, I cannot sit behind my desk anymore. Like I've been back in a structural engineering capacity. It's really an incredible career, but I had more to give. And that book really resonated with me. And so the whole coming to America was really just through coincidence that was to chase Erica. And for me, it was also to do with if I don't make this move, then I'll have regret when I'm older. And so hopefully the thing that a lot of people take away from today's show is that I don't ever want to wake up when I'm 60 years of age going, geez, I wish I'd given that a go. Or geez, I wish I would move to the United States. Because at the end of the day, even if I fail, well, at least I still gave it a go. At least I still gave it a crack. And I can die peacefully knowing that I gave it a good shake of the horse's tail, as they like to say. So then fast forward to where we are today and moved to New York, didn't have a job, wanted to live in the Big Apple, just wanted to tick that box, moved in with Erica, who new relationship, all those sort of things, moving halfway across the world. So it was very, a lot coming at me. And then quickly realizing, okay, wow, there's really cheap real estate here compared to where I'm from. Like I can drive 4 hours outside of New York City and buy something for $38,000. Like that's unheard of in Australia. So this incredible opportunity that I saw, again, coming from the lens of having that sort of superpower of perspective, coming from somewhere that doesn't have all these incredible opportunities that maybe America has sitting in its backyard, and maybe some Americans don't realize. I took it with both hands. And over the last 8 years, I've developed a company. I've been able to quit my engineering job, go full time with my company. And I now, manage a bunch of units in Texas, and we have a bunch of investors, and we're continuing to scale the business upwards and upwards. So in a nutshell, that's really the coming to America story.
That could be a movie. That could be a movie right there.
Is Leo listening?
Part two. Part two. That's fascinating. I mean, I'm intrigued. I think you hit a nail on the head real quick when you said that a lot of people Americans right here in their own backyard don't realize how fortunate they are, to have the access to a lot of things. And one of those is in some cases cheap real estate, right? Where if you just dive in and get started with your first property, man, it can then also be where you are at today, just by the domino effect, right?
Right.
So,
100%. And then the big thing for me was when I'd moved to the United States, I'd already had a bunch of training and books and education. And then the other big thing that I realized, and again, for your American listeners, is when I moved to New York City, there was these incredible communities called real estate investment associations, the RIAs of the world. And I happened to come from a city in Australia which had the only equivalent of a RIA, but it was a networking event for real estate investors. And so coming to the Big Apple and like, wow, I can pay $30 at the door and incredible content and meet a bunch of people. That was just, and you have a tapestry of that across the United States. In every MSA, there's a RIA. Like that, to me, again, was just like, this is at my fingertips. Like how can you not be successful, right? Cheap real estate and getting to meet everyone who's in your local market, who's buying real estate. So those two things were really quite influential, but also perspective back to what you're saying about that some people just don't realize that it's sitting right in front of them and they need to just go out and take some action.
Yeah, absolutely. I wanted to ask this question at the end, but I'm going to do a spoiler alert and just do it right now because, we won't make people wait to the very end. Hopefully they will anyways, because this is good stuff. But here's a question that I know get thrown around a lot to investors who are very savvy like yourselves. And I would love to have your perspective. And the question is this. Right now, in America here, right now, given the environment of everything where prices are, would you invest and buy real estate?
Yes. All the time. The beauty of real estate is everywhere, right? Across the globe, people need houses, so real estate will always be a good investment if you know what you're buying. And that's the if you know what you're buying, if you know your market and you can buy and add value to an asset, whether it's be through flicks and flipping, or you're buying it under market value, you're increasing it the highest and best use, increasing in density, you're buying commercial assets, whatever you might be doing, you have to know your market first and foremost, and then you have to understand why a deal is a deal in the given time. So for today, we're sitting here in December, just not coming out of COVID, but we've had a big year of COVID. There's going to be certain people in pain points in certain markets that maybe as a buyer you could go and benefit from. Not trying to be sharky or anything like that, but there's going to be people out there that may have deals to sell because of certain personal situations that you could benefit from that may be under market value, and thus being a really good deal for you to buy in today's climate.
Great point. And I hear what you're saying too. And hopefully the viewers, understand that too as well, that you're not trying to, make an upside on someone's downside, but the reality is if someone's having a downside, I found, doing this for 15 years, selling real estate and going through the housing bubble, right? In America, it happened in 06, 07, 08. They're going to have a downside no matter what. Somebody is going to reap the upside. So it may as well be you, right? So. Right.
But it also goes back to like, you'd be a very expert in your local market. You know what things are selling for on a price per square foot basis. I'm very data driven. So I need to make sure all the boxes are being ticked on the data to know that I am buying it at a good basis to go and add the value and have that wriggle room in case something goes wrong in the market, that I can ride out any sort of potential quote unquote downturn, which we are currently in, if you look at all the stock markets and all those sort of the economists say. So overall, the big takeaway here is you have to know your market really, really well. You have to know it inside and out. You don't have to live in a particular market. You just have to know it really, really well, know where things are happening, where the path of progress is happening, why certain real estate is valued at a certain price and why is other real estate valued at a higher price or a lower price. And then what gems can you find within those different sub-markets or in your MSA to go out and then really say, okay, this is a cracking deal and I need to go and act quickly on it.
Okay. So obviously you just said you own properties in other states, not just your market of LA, right? And we all know LA is pretty expensive, right?
Yeah, I don't know anything. Oh, so I just moved into my new house. So this is my new house. So now I do own something in LA.
Congratulations. That's awesome. Well, okay. So there's opportunity everywhere. If it's not in your own backyard, you have to go out and find it. So what would you recommend someone to do as a first step? Let's say if they say, okay, yeah, I live in, San Francisco or Los Angeles, and it's just not a whole lot, affordable housing here. What would you recommend someone to do as a first or second step?
I think the biggest thing is going back to being a market expert. I would first step is print out a map of exactly the market you want to be in and stick it on your wall, right? Then you need to start assessing and understanding the different markets within a particular MSA, because the beauty of the United States is when I first moved here, everyone was talking about the housing crash in 08 and that, it's US house prices are X. It's like, hang on guys, there's 400 different MSAs across the United States. Within each MSA, there's a north, there's a south, there's a good side of the tracks, there's a bad side of the tracks. Stick a map on your wall and figure all that out. And you can do that from a desktop study. You don't have to even leave the comfort of your own home. You can find out from local municipalities where they're investing or where the new particular transportation line might be being built. And maybe you need to understand that, sort of read the news articles of where things are growing, where the path of progress is. And that is something where you can continue to do day in, day out. And yet you could do that from the moon if you wanted to, if you have good internet access, but you're really getting granular on why certain things in certain parts of a submarket make more sense than others. And that does take time, right? It's not sexy. It doesn't happen overnight, but the longer you spend studying a market, the better the more well-equipped you'll be to identifying a good asset, right? So once you've got your idea of the more affordable market. I think you guys are in Arizona. Maybe it's in Phoenix, Arizona, which is a little bit more affordable than the coastal markets. Mm-hmm. But then you may need to then go and look at deals, right? And I'm talking multiple deals. I'm talking 50, 60, 70 deals. And it could be from more single family houses all the way up to commercial real estate. And the reason you look at so many deals is to get data, right? And you need to track that data. And when you're tracking that data, and it might not be a deal for you. It might not work because of X, Y, Z, but you need to track why it doesn't work for you, X, Y, Z. So the next one, you can say, that works a little bit better because maybe the price per square foot's a little bit lower. And I know that area is going upwards because of, the transportation, bond that's just been initiated in the local municipality. And all these things lead into, okay, this makes it more of a deal. But doing the work on the front end isn't sexy, but it takes time, but you become a real estate expert in a market that you've chosen. And it's so important because it helps lay the foundation for you to go off and really, really be successful in that chosen market.
Yeah, that's good stuff. That's good stuff. I mean, what would you say when it comes to acquiring the property? So now you put the map on the wall, right? You found that area. You said, okay, this is going to be the city or the part of the city I'm going to take a stab at here. And then you find a deal that you said, oh my goodness, this might actually work. How do you recommend going about acquiring financing on that property or the strategy in general?
Well, take a step back. Like who's providing you those deals? You need to go set up your team on the ground, right? Or your A team, as we like to say. So you're going to need a broker, right? Which might be yourself, Kelly, which is local to the local municipality. You're probably going to need a local financier. So maybe it's a local bank. Maybe it's a bigger bank that you have better relationships in your hometown that can help you get financing in another state. More likely than not, when you're starting out, you probably need to get those relationships with a local bank. A local appraiser who's going to come and appraise the property to make sure that it is worth the salt that you're going to be buying it with, and maybe a GC. And the fifth one is also going to be your attorney, like who's going to help you navigate the legal ramifications of buying out of state. All these 5 people are team members in your team that you need to build no matter what market you're buying in. I, over the years, have always kept getting better and better team members. When I first started, I remember the first team members in upstate New York and Syracuse when I first started buying my first property. They aren't the same team members that I have today, right? But they got me started. It was brokers, it was a local financier, it was a general contractor, it was the legal advice, and it was the real estate agent that the real estate property manager that can help me manage the asset once I bought it. So all those people help you become more successful in your local chosen market. So it's really important, have the map, have the education on the MSA, but also then go out and build your A team in order to be successful. Because you going and just sticking, searching online apartments or houses for sale in Arizona, I don't think you're going to get the best deals straight away by Googling that.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think the point you said earlier is it's going to take a little bit of time, but anything that's worth the salt that it could provide a huge benefit to, and generational, wealth we're really talking about
100%.
Here is worth the time up front, right? Anything is worth that's worth it is worth it.
I'd like to go back actually too and hear a little bit more of your story. I know that you said that you went out a little outside of New York, bought that first property for about $38,000.
Yep.
Where did the shift come from, going from that one property to 2 to 3?
Yeah.
Kind of where was your mindset of like, this could really be something for me to really continue and build on? Like, what did that look like?
Well, I think the biggest thing you also got to understand is like moving halfway across the world is such a big mental leap in itself. Like everything beyond that is
I wouldn't know.
Chicken feed. Like it was just so getting a job, getting a visa, you're dating a new girl. Like that was the hard stuff. This is now the easy stuff. So for me, it was always about pushing my boundaries, and that's what you got to be comfortable with, right? So when I had amassed like the first property, and then I bought the second property, and then I bought a flip in Philadelphia, and I was starting to get to the end of my rope on just lending. I was, pretty new to the country still. I was working full time. I wasn't financially free. Instant gratification. I wanted it to happen tomorrow. But really, it was through a conversation with a good friend of mine who came to New York City in 2013 at Christmas. We went out for a beer, and me, I was boasting. I think I had 7 little units at that time. I think a triplex and 2 duplexes, and I was looking at a flip in Philly, and I ended up still working full time. Not really financially free, but was putting a bit of cash in my pocket, which I was happy with. And I was boasting. And then he goes on to tell me, he's like, oh, that's great, Reed. But I just closed on a 70 unit deal. And I said, 70, like 70. And he's like, yeah, 70. And I said, how the hell did you do that? And then he went and talked to me about, getting a mentor, getting, seller carryback financing, all this other stuff that I had been privy to in my education up until that point. But I really was, I'm going to go do it myself, and I'm going to go learn how to do it. I don't need anyone else's help, but I kind of had that gut feeling that I was getting to the end of my tether there. I was getting to the end of my rope, and I needed that conversation. And, if you woo-woo, thanks for universe for bringing me that conversation, but it was enough to kick me in the butt to go, well, if he can do it, why can't I go out and do it? And so I actually ended up liquidating a couple of those properties to get some money to go out and get a mentor. And that mentor helped me lay the foundation to what I have built today through podcasting, through personal branding, through raising capital, through upping my game to the next level. And that's really, really important. Look at all the big NBA stars. They all have coaches. And that was a real pivotal moment in my career early on that I said, okay, I'm willing to bet on myself. I've come this far. You want to take it seriously. You want to go and, skyrocket to the moon. You need to start betting on yourself. You need to start investing in yourself. And that was where I went out and got a mentor.
I love that. I love that. A story, man. Bet on yourself too. So, okay. So then that's a great question, Elizabeth. That kind of segues again to, you said now you have about 2,400 doors under management. Mm-hmm. I mean, and then you mentioned the 70 unit complex that your friend bought, which I'm assuming since then you probably have participated in some deals like that, Reed. So that's my goal, right? To do that very soon. But if you could talk to us about that a little bit and the intricacies of doing something bigger like that and whatnot.
Yeah, so my business is based on real estate syndication. And for those people who may not know what real estate syndication is, think of it, my best analogy, I've done a number of these podcasts that I can explain it quite well, is think of it like a Boeing 747, right? I'm going from LA to New York City, right? If I, Reed Goossens, was to go out and try and hire that Boeing 747, it's going to cost me a hell of a lot of money, right? To get from point A to point B. However, if I go and split the costs with all the passengers, and in that same analogy, I'm the captain and I've got my co-pilot who's driving the plane. We've got first class, which might be people who are very influential to the deal, people who brought the deal to the table. You might have some key principals who help bring financing to the table or liquidity. And then you've got everyone else back in coach who maybe can't afford also the plane by themselves, but they want to come along for the ride and they can pay for a seat. And so all this, it's a collective good that we all get on this plane and we go from point A to point B. And in this analogy, again, it goes from financial, independence, so from not having financial independence to some sort of financial independence through what's called real estate syndication. So we had to pool investors' money together. We had to go out and take down larger assets that we as individuals couldn't take down individually, but as a whole, we can go down and take them down. And for that, we split up the pie. Investors typically own about 70% of the deal. We as the general partnership own about 30% of the deal. And we all get to benefit along the way through cash flow, through appreciation. And then when we sell the asset, everyone gets to divvy up the pie and make a profit. So in general, that's the business. And we've then gone out and bought deals, one at a time. So the first deal I bought was 192 units, and the second deal was a 250, and so on and so on. And that's how we've been able to amass 2,400 units over the last 5 or 6 years.
So, okay. So from that standpoint, you guys are finding the deals. You're the general. So okay, so is there any licensing you have to have with any government bodies to be able to take people's money and put into?
Not if you're directly in the general partnership, right? So the SEC, you're talking about the Security Exchange Commission and the SEC. You know, if you're there's things called broker dealers. If you're just making introductions to the deal, like a third party, then yes, you need a broker dealer license. But as I Reed Goosens and my business partner Andrew Campbell, we raise the money ourselves. It's friends, it's family, it's people who are in my network. Hence the podcast, right? That I can get through, and I'm able to raise capital from. And because I'm the general partnership, I sign on the loan, I bring earnest money to the table, I find the deal, I'm putting my own liquidity into, you know, the deal doesn't exist without my liquidity. All those things mean that I'm a general partnership and I don't have to be individually licensed because I am the owner of the deal. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. 100% it does. Yeah. Fascinating too. And I assume you have people who, you know, I guess like some people, and I assume it's pretty illiquid, right? As an investor, right?
Yes. So it is illiquid, but like any real estate deal, whether you're doing on the small end or the big end, you know, you're buying a single family all the way through to buying a multi-family complex, it's an illiquid asset, right? But you're putting it in there to get cash flow, to get, you know, tax benefits. So, and you get amortization and you get appreciation. So the four benefits that not many other, I don't think any other investment vehicle across the world can do all those four functions in one vehicle. So that's why we invest in real estate. And, you know, there's that triangle, what is it? Growth, cash flow, and liquidity. And you can't have all three of them at the same time. So, you know, it's, if you want liquidity, so if you want to be liquid, you go invest in the stock market.
That's right. That makes sense. It's a good point though for our listeners to understand that too. And I'm a big believer in investing in real estate, right? To the point where, you know, it's nice to have control, right?
Yes.
Now, if you're going to big deals like that, if I'm going to be an investor in your building that you're buying, obviously I'm going to lose control, but at that point you have trust, right? You have a legal document, obviously, of what you guys can and can't do.
That is correct.
But you also have potential to have an investment in something that, you know, you just can't have those kind of returns potentially on a small end for the money you're putting in, right? And a Boeing 747, right?
Yes. Well, it's also the effort, right? It's what a lot of our investors are busy full-time professionals who are doctors, lawyers, engineers, my old career, but people who want to be involved in real estate, but maybe not necessarily the time or the energy to go out and get the diversification that they need, right? Passively investing directly into deals like my real estate deal. I'm not the only syndicator out there. There's so many other syndicators who do self-storage, mobile home parks, hotels, hospitality. And this is a way that you can diversify into hard assets without the risk of having to go out and try and find the deal and be the local expert and try to pull the deal together. That's why you're investing alongside of us, because we are the experts, right? We take all that hard work off the table and you can come along for the ride and not really lift a finger at all besides bring some investment dollars.
Woo, man.
This was great.
Elizabeth, you ready to invest, Elizabeth?
I'm thinking about it. I'm like, hey, you know, I can do that. I could go buy some stuff and ride along with Reed there.
Well, but I will say, and to all your listeners, because I know this is the show, when I first started, I wanted to be in control, right? And you have to ask yourself, it's really fundamental to when you start your investing career, do you want to control or do you want to invest passively and have the residual income? They're two different paths, and I'm talking about the more active path, but there is the passive path as well that some people are more built for because they value their time with their kids or whatever that might be. You know, like there's other life goals there. So don't think there's just one or the other. You know, I definitely came from the world that I wanted to be in control, and thus I started my portfolio, and it's grown to this stage today.
Awesome. Now, do you have a goal real quick to hit a certain number of units under management?
Look, right now, like when I get asked that question, I'm 34. I put my hand up. 86 baby. I'm a late millennial, early millennial. I can't remember.
Close.
One of them. Early. Early. Yeah, we'll go with early, right? It depends on who you ask. 10 years ago, I had no idea. I wasn't even living in America. I had no idea that I'd be sitting here talking to you on a podcast today. I've learned along the way to enjoy the journey. In 10 years' time, when I'm 44, I've got no idea. Hopefully the business will still be going very strong from strength to strength, but I'm also going to enjoy it along the way. I have some smaller goals in the interim to get to. Yes, we'd like to double the portfolio, but also I don't want to tie myself to say I need to be here by the time I'm 40, because I think so many people stress out about that and keeping up with the Joneses and doing X, Y, Z that they forget to enjoy the journey and just enjoy what you've built today and know that you you know, the old saying from Tony Robbins, you overestimate what you can achieve in a year, but you can underestimate what you can achieve in a decade. And that's the power of putting one foot in front of the other, slowly inching towards your goals, because it will happen over time. And I'm here to tell you, not to boast, but to say, look, a guy from Australia can come over here and do it, then so can you. And I'm not trying to, I didn't come from a wealthy family. I didn't come from any of that. It was just through hard work, determination, and putting one foot in front of the other.
Living the American dream.
Love
it.
Right? Yeah.
Wonderful. Reed, thank you so much for coming on here. I know that you got to run. We really appreciate it. If anybody wants to, you know, check out your podcast or read one of your books, can you tell us a little bit about that, where they can access that?
Yeah. Just head over to reedgoossens.com. That's REEDGOOSSENS.com. There's a book there, there's a podcast. And if anyone's coming through LA and they want to meet up for a beer or coffee and talk shop, just hit me up at info, that's INFO, at reedgoossens.com.
Wonderful. And Kelly, if anybody has any questions for you about maybe your goals, because I know you said that this kind of to get here is one of your goals, wants to talk to you about that, where can they reach you? Yeah,
you know, picture me as like that I don't know, that private jet right now, right? Not the 747, the private jet. Reed's the 747. I'm that private jet trying to buy up a little bit here at this point. So we're getting there though, Reed. But yeah, we'd love to hear anybody's topic or what they want to hear in the future. We love the investment topic on real estate here, obviously, but certainly info@kellycookhomes.com or on my cell, 480-227-2028. You can call or text. We'd love to hear from you, and especially smashing and liking that like button.
Like that like button. And thank you guys so much, and we will see you next time.
Thanks,
Absolutely.
guys.
See you guys.
Welcome to the podcast Selling Real Estate with Kelly Cook, where we will discuss the latest and most relevant business strategies to help you do one thing extremely well: sell more homes. We'll discuss everything from business planning to lead generation and conversion to past client customer service and everything in between. Join us for authentic conversations and nuts and bolts takeaways you can implement into your business today. And now, Selling Real Estate with Kelly Cook.